I really find, especially in this exhibition, the piece that you have here, this wonderful thing that he has playing with the shadows. The shadows somehow give life to the buildings, and that is amazing. I mean, in many of the compositions, you don't see this, like, well, there's some works in where he has a more like hard-edge composition, but he's very playful with the light. And I think that's what gives this very, very nice feeling, you know, of the painting themselves.
Yeah, Rafael mentioned, but I wanted to ask Elvis, that Emilio could not go back to Cuba, like others who were already outside Cuba and they could not come back. In the case of Emilio, he goes to Puerto Rico and he finds something that resonates with his work. And I was just wondering, you worked there, and so I want to hear your perspective about what was for Emilio to return to Puerto Rico again and again and again.
Yeah.
And he was never able to go back to Cuba.
Yeah.
And how
Well,
Puerto Rico in a way was filled a certain void.
Yeah, well, I think that's a wonderful question. I somehow feel more or less the same. Although I can go back to Cuba, but I decided not to. I went just 1 in 9 years. But I go back to Puerto Rico all the time, and it's because Puerto Rico has many things that that connect to Cuba. But I think there is something very interesting. When Emilio was in Cuba in the 40s, who was growing up and everything, was this boom of modern architecture, which I think is somehow reflected in the way that he relates to modern architecture. I remember that I interviewed Nicolás Quintana, who was a very well-known architect. He unfortunately passed months ago. And he told me, you know what, in the 40s in Cuba, all rich families, they wanted to have a very modern house. And they would come to us, to the architect, and say, well, what do you have? Oh, I have this, and these are new fixtures in the markets and things like that. Well, I want that. And that was this feeling in the 40s. We have to remember that there was a dictatorship in Cuba, there was a revolution that won, and in the 40s there was this momentum in which the economy in Cuba was also booming, and architecture was really in a wonderful time. And architects has a very close connection with modern painting in Cuba. They were actually hosting exhibitions in the Colegio de Arquitectos. So even though Emilio didn't study architecture, there was this sense of conversation between the visual arts and architecture. Now, when he goes to Puerto Rico, it's something similar. And we have, in the 60s and the 70s, there is a very important migration of Cuban artists based in Puerto Rico. And many of them, painters, were working with architects. I mean, we think of Emilio Sanchez, we can think of Alfredo Lozano. I mean, this is artists from approximately the same generation of Emilio that were in Puerto Rico and found in Puerto Rico a place where they could actually develop their work. And Emilio went many times to Puerto Rico, and there are many landscapes and also, of course, many paintings that focus on architecture and all that. Now, I think that in terms of Emilio's language, there is this. I mean, I haven't been able to really, trace this development, but there is, I think, a moment in which he is debating between focusing on light and focusing in color. And there is a moment, I guess, that when light, and especially shadow, more than light, somehow won the battle. I think he found that was really, an interesting thing, and because light affects architecture, and affects the way, of course, that we perceive building and we perceive reality in general. So.